if you look at your ratio of prices, don't always assume that the ratio of prices at the supermarket are the same ratio you're going to have. If at the supermarket, if at Kroger's, ground beef is, $3.69, and ribeye steak is $8.99. All right, let's forget the 99s for a minute and just if ground beef is $3 and ribeye steak is $9, that's a 1-to-3 ratio. Are you with me? Okay. So in your pricing, if you try to use this, you might get in big trouble. Because if your ribeye steak, let's just say, is 15, at this same ratio, what would your ground beef need to be? 5. Okay? At that ratio, it very well may not work for you. You may not be able to sell your ribeyes, and you may be out of ground beef all the time. Okay? Because that's a pretty competitive price, all right? And so our experience has been that this kind of common 1-to-3 price at the supermarket, we're often, I inverted those, sorry, I didn't mean to mess you up, inverted. What we have found is that often we need to be much closer, more like 16 and 8, okay, in order to keep in the ground beef. And remember, Allen Nation always said, if you're starting a grass-finished product, if you can't make it on ground beef alone, don't start. Okay? And our ground beef is to die for. Okay? We can, steaks, that's why there's cookbooks about how to cook grass-finished beef, because it's not all fat and what I call, bland and tasteless. University of Kentucky started a grass-finished hamburger program in the school, and the students rebelled because they said, we're not used to having to chew hamburgers. And so they had to discontinue the program and do a year. They brought in an ad agency, consultancy agency, and did a 1-year they went back and did a 1-year pre-introduction about the food and the meat to prepare the kids to, Boulder, Colorado, when Ann Cooper, the chef, took over that and went into Boulder, Colorado, they had to teach the kids how to handle a piece of chicken with a bone in it. Okay? You can't make this stuff up, all right? And so just remember that we're dealing with a part of the inventory issue. Part of making sure that we have an inventory is to adjust our pricing so that the stuff that we're always out of, you bump the price up. And the stuff that's a hard mover, you bring the price down, all right? But my point here on the ratio is that you very well may have to adjust these prices in order to keep your inventory up. But as long as you make margin on the whole animal, you're okay. Doesn't matter. So, right now, for example, in the grocery store, the price difference between, for example, right now, I don't keep up with all this all the time, but let's just say the price of a whole broiler is $170 a pound, a whole broiler chicken, and boneless, skinless breast is forget this. We're going to make this 2, and we're going to make boneless, skinless breast 6. Okay? All right? So that's a 1 to 3, right? Our price, our boneless skinless breast is 14, and our whole broiler is 4, or roughly, okay? Which is a little more than 1 to 3, okay? So just realize that you got to take the composite. You got to take the whole composite, and you can flex things within that as part of your inventory control. Okay, specials and sales. Let me tell you what, people love specials and sales. And I know that sometimes I've heard people who talk about artisanal, food production say, in food craft, I mean, look, we're, and they got all this mystique, but we're food crafters. This isn't commodity, this is craft. And you never give a special or a sale on a craft. It's artisanal, it's sculpting, it's, all this. At the end of the day, if you're gonna lose product, it's better to run it on a sale and get rid of it than it is to hang on to it and throw it away, okay? At the end of the day, you need to find a home for it if you can. That's a whole lot better than salvaging. And so we typically have in our mix of stuff, we have slow movers. One, for example, is pullet eggs. The little small pullet eggs. So we started a marketing campaign several years ago. We quit calling them smalls and we called them young maiden eggs. Doesn't everybody want a young maiden egg? All right. So sometimes it reminds me of the guy that did chickens one year, and as so often happens, I'm going to do this pasture poultry thing. So he started raising these chickens, and it's easy to call the hatchery. There's a seat right up here. It's easy to call, there's one there too. It's easy to call the hatchery and order a bunch of chickens. So he, called the hatchery, got his chickens. Well, he didn't get his processing ducks in a row. And of course, these chickens are growing and growing and growing. And he didn't get his processing ducks in a row until these Cornish cross broilers were like 10 and a half weeks old. Well, if you've raised Cornish cross broilers, 10 and a half weeks, you've got a little turkey, and these things will weigh 10, 11 pounds. We finally got them processed. Well, he sells them for $3.50 a pound. They're like 10-pound carcasses. And he got a lot of pushback from people that didn't want to pay $35 for a chicken. Even though it was a really, really big chicken, they didn't want to pay. It's just a psychological thing, right? I'm not going to pay $35 for a chicken. And so he kind of sat on them. They moved slow. And it finally got up toward, they were frozen, so they weren't, it wasn't like he was in a critical situation. Got up toward Thanksgiving. And he had this bright idea. He said, I know what I'll do. Changed the name on them to Holiday Giants Chickens with Cleavage. And he sold them out in a week. So sometimes, sometimes it's all in a name, This is marketing. It's all in a name, all right? So specials and sales, people, the slow movers, the little small eggs, we've sometimes, if we get a case of those and we can't sell them, we give them to one of our best chefs. And they just take them home, and the staff takes them home and eats them and all that stuff. You know what that does in PR? That's worth way more. That's worth way more than trying to sell them at a loss, at 50 cents a dozen just to get rid of them. Sometimes, we have done this in the spring. You got, the chickens are laying like crazy, and you can't sell them all. And we get up, got to do something. And so sometimes we'll take 3 or 4 cases, just take them into town. Take them to our bank, take them to our tire repair shop, our small engine mechanic, businesses that you patronize. Our porta potty business, take them in there. Oh, I mean, you know what that garners in public relations, in emotional equity, and I mean, they just now when you walk in, you're not just somebody, you're the, hey, they know you by name and the farm and all this stuff. It's wonderful. So a lot of times these kinds of little inventory glitches can be leveraged more for PR than even a sale price. The year that we began, that we really ramped up our stewing hens. Stewing hen, what's that? Nobody ever heard of a stewing hen. So what we did for 1 year was we gave away a stewing hen with cooking instructions to anyone who bought $100 worth of stuff. And we gave away, 200 stewing hens that year, and we never gave away another one. People that tried them, wow, this is amazing, because a stewing hen, it's this old hen, orange, fat, those of you who've had them, I mean, they're the rich taste. You want to make broth, soup, whatever, the southern chicken and dumplings, okay? There is nothing like an old stewing hen, okay? But people, there are few things that people are as routine about as food. Okay, we tend to want to think, oh, I'll try that. We're adventuresome. No, we don't. We're not really. Oh, we'll try it, but essentially, Alan used to write about this all the time about how our nose and our taste buds are linked, and you grow up with those memories of grandma, and those special dinners and special dishes, and you never leave that. I don't care what your ethnicity is, how old you are, or anything. You never leave those really visceral taste and smell, odor, memories of childhood. That's why food is just so much like that. Okay. Let's talk a little bit about price pointing. There's a whole science called price pointing, and so let me do a little bit of introduction here. All right, so let's say there's an item that you're used to getting that's $3.69, okay? And you've been getting this item for a long time, and and you walk into the store this week, and it's $3.79. Are you not going to buy it because it's $3.79 this week? No, everybody's shaking their head. No, of course not. Okay, a couple weeks later you walk in, $3.89. What do you think? This is something you use all the time. Absolutely, yeah. All right, you go in. Now what? You'll still buy it, but it's starting to get your attention, isn't it? You're starting to think, right? Yeah, okay. So the point is, you're going to buy it, but it probably gave you a stutter step, okay? All right, watch. All right, now what? Not going to buy it. Different ball game, isn't it? Okay? This is called price pointing. It's the study, the psychology of price pointing. And here's the thing that I want you to this is for every item. Here's the thing I need you to remember. The rule of thumb is that if 10% of your customers are not complaining about price, you're too low. If 10% of your customers are not complaining about price, you're too low. Right here, we may have complained. Right here, we quit buying. Now, I want you to think, if this is the price on your eggs, and you're selling, we sell 2,000 dozen a week, all right? So I want you to just think, if this is your egg price, and nobody even batted an eye from here to here, this made you start to think a little bit. The point is, what's the difference here? 30 cents, okay, times 2,000 dozen a week is $600 a week times 50 is $30,000. The point of this is that we leave money on the table if we don't move our price as close as possible to the stutter point. Okay? And the problem is that we as farmers, we are so cotton picking frugal, aren't we? I mean, we want to pinch a penny till the Indian rides the buffalo. I mean, just we tend to be fairly frugal. I mean, unless it comes to buying a green tractor or something. Then we're not frugal anymore. Or an F-350 truck, right? A dually, then we're not frugal anymore. But we tend to be fairly frugal. And so the reason that we can't bear, we don't have enough confidence in ourselves and our product, and we hate criticism. We don't want somebody to accuse us of, well, you're just a greedy, money-grubbing, whatever, right? The price is too high. We hate that. So what do? We drop our price way down to where we are never going to hear anybody say, that's too expensive. I'm Joel Salatin, editor of Stockman Grass Farmer. Thank you for watching this Stockman Grass Farmer video, where grass farming is celebrated for its possibilities and opportunities. You'll find more at the links here to find additional material in our library. You can see a lot of different videos and enjoy learning more about grass farming. We look forward to visiting with you more and more here as you make Stockman Grass Farmer part of your video portfolio.